Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Ritter Hogue MK3-G2 fixed blade, or Mach 3 Generation 2 fixed blade. Doug Ritter himself actually reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to take a look at this? And I said, yes, absolutely. You should familiarize yourself with Doug Ritter, absolutely. Learn about him and what he's done for the knife world. Very, very important figure. I was honored, actually, if Doug is watching this, I was like, hey, heck yeah, man. Thank you very much for offering. I was really excited to take a look at this. Where can you get this? This is a KnifeWorks exclusive. So always people will get confused by that. These are KnifeWorks exclusives, meaning that's the only place that you can get them. I have no program worked out with them whatsoever. I'm just telling you that's where they are. I will link it right down below, and you're welcome to use my link if you'd like, or just go there, however you do that. You should be able to find this fairly easily. Thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. All right, let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. Overall length of the MK3-G2 coming in at about 9 inches. Maybe just a little teeny weeny tiny bit more. It's maybe a hair over 9 inches. Blade length is coming in at 4.5. And your cutting edge is coming in at 4 1/4. So, clean measurements there. How about some size comparisons? Let's put it up against the only other fixed blade that I ever really compare with. If you guys don't know, right, if you're new and you're just like, you're a fixed blade person, you're coming to my channel and you're like, why is this guy's process so weird? I review 99% of what I review are folding knives. So sorry if this isn't what you're used to. There's the more robust. So another, what I'd consider to be a full-size fixed blade, it's just nowhere near the same size as the MK3 here. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the actual Ritter Hogue? This is the full size. So you can see here what's interesting is the handle. The scales are, extremely, of course, very similar in the profile, but about the same amount of room. Little bit more real estate on the fixed version here, but it's absolutely the exact same texturing as well. Or extremely, it's incredibly similar, which is something I like. Slightly contoured and texturing, multi-directional texturing. So whatever it is you're doing, twisting, pulling, and pushing, right? It's nice to get that type of traction. It has been perfect on this. Obviously, this is a knife that I use. This is a knife that is a dedicated size comparison knife on this channel because it is such an incredible tool, right? And the shape of the handle, the contouring, the shape of the blade, this all elements there, right? And it's interesting how much of this, of course, carried over into the fixed version. Anyways, we forgot to do the smaller guy. There's the Ritter Hogue, and then there's the little brother, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. There is, of course, a mini Ritter Hogue, or a smaller Ritter Hogue RSK MK3-G2. That you guys can check out. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and Rat Model 2? Once again, as you can see, the fixed version much larger and the handle room similar to the larger Rat 1. Last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3 and PM2. PM2, sorry, I should have said PM2 first. So there you go. Similar ergonomic handle room, but of course, much larger blade. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check, get out my tools. You can absolutely get my tools now right down in the Amazon store that's listed down in the description. You guys feel free to check that out. It's nicely organized and updated. So if you have not been there for a while, I would urge you to check it out. It's much easier to navigate and only includes tools and other things that I use on the channel now. Oh, are they not? I thought for sure those are T10. I looked at those and I was like, those are definitely T10. Looks like they're going to be T8. So, yeah, let's go ahead and check that real quick. All right, yeah, so T8, and there's 4 of them. Looks like they go nice and deep. So, taking this thing apart if you really have to should not be a problem. There's 2 screws on both sides. This is a fixed blade, so unless you're trying to swap out the scales, there's probably not much reason to take those out. Although you probably want to check them and tighten them maybe after months or years, right? But, yeah, okay, so there you go. There is a sheath. right here, we've got a nylon sheath, right? And then the way that this carries is like this, down, right? At least that's how it comes. So I talked to them about the sheath, and I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not nearly as much of a fixed blade person as I am a folding knife. My knives don't get such an insane outdoor workout that I require, you know, every last little element's gonna matter to me. I can understand that it does to some people, right? My knives, the most workout they get is outside. I'll spend part of an afternoon on the weekend doing something outside, and I will use a blade anywhere from light to fairly heavy for just cutting wood or whatever it is that I'm doing. It's not crazy. Right? I'm not going out and surviving with my knives. Doug Ritter pointed out, he said, with the sheath, we decided to go with nylon, and we decided to go with this sort of carry position. He said, no matter what type of sheath you do, you'll have people who complain because it is not set up for their carry preferences or their material preferences, right? So had he gone with Kydex in a different mounting position, he would have had an equal amount of people complaining that it wasn't this or something similar, right? You might think, well, he should just make multiple sheaths. I don't know. I mean, that probably costs quite a bit of additional money to do. I mean, maybe that's something that's, you know, makes the whole thing, it would make the entire thing cost more money because they're pumping more funds into the style of sheath. I don't know. This is the sheath it comes with, and honestly, it seems to work just fine. I'm not that picky when it comes to sheaths, but like I said, many of you guys are gonna be. Maybe you carry a fixed blade every single day, and this is gonna matter a lot more, you know, to you. My suggestion is if you don't like the sheath, which truthfully it feels fine. I mean, this is plenty high quality. People who like the nylon and people who like to carry or mount their knives on their person like this are going to be very happy with it. If you don't like it, you probably should just have a custom sheath made. That's probably the answer, right? I mean, that's a simple solution. It's going to cost you a little bit more money, but I feel like if you're that into it, you're probably somebody who's into custom sheaths anyway, right? So there you go. Let's weigh it with and without the sheath. My opinion on the sheath is it's fine. It's plenty high quality. In fact, it's a nicer sheath than I would expect most knives to come with. So the knife itself weighs 5.68 ounces. We've got a change of heart. 5.71 ounces. Oh, the scale is so funny. It's like, wait. And then with the sheath, the thing comes in at 9.88 ounces, which honestly doesn't seem like that much. There are folding knives that weigh more than this knife with the sheath, right? So the knife itself and the weight of the knife with the sheath, given the circumstance where I would be carrying it, is not a weight that's going to bother me. Honestly, I think the whole profile of the knife is really not all that mega, you know, it's not all that crazy. The thickness of the scales are very, very similar to the Ritter Hogue. Maybe a slight increase in thickness, but you get that, you know, that feeling of confidence with the blade and the handle scales and everything filling out your hand. So I think the weight, the dimensions, everything like that, I think this makes a lot of sense. It's a larger fixed blade, but this is one of the few larger fixed blades that I could see myself carrying and using or opting for over other knives. Not day to day for me, but in a situation where I'm going to go out and do a whole bunch of work, there's a lot of reasons that I would reach for this over some of my other fixed blades and other folding knives in general. We're going to talk about that. All right, have we done... Oh, we should probably measure blade stock thickness. I didn't do that. Yeah, I'm going to guess that the blade stock thickness on this guy is right around the same ballpark as the folding version. What do we got here? Okay, 135 thousandths. Something like that. I think the Ritter Hogue is about 120 to 125 thousandths. So we have a slight increase in thickness, which is fine. So what are we looking at here for materials? We're looking at G10 and we're looking at S45VN, which is great. This is a US made fixed blade. Doug Ritter and Hogue have teamed up to bring these knives to us, and I've been saying since something like 2018 that the Ritter Hogue folding knife is, in my opinion, the point of diminishing returns, and I still believe that. I still believe that the Ritter Hogue RSK MK3-G2 folding knife is about the best that you could possibly do dollar for dollar, where every last dollar that goes into that knife, from my perspective, is worth it and goes towards some type of utilitarian advantage, right? Or is advantageous in some utilitarian sense over other folding knives in its direct competition path, or even everything leading up from $1 all the way up to $160, right? A lot of these elements are absolutely present in the fixed version of this, and it was immediately apparent. I mean, obviously the fixed blade is a much simpler knife, much simpler. Hogue did an excellent job with this again. Fit and finish is translating through so perfectly. In fact, it's flawless. There's no fit and finish wise, like, I mean, when you come down to the cutting edge, right? The finish on the blade, just symmetry, because it's a fixed blade, right? Everything's perfect. The scales match up. The machining's done really, really well. The edges are just nicely knocked down. Everything is so beautiful. So fit and finish, it's nice to see that Hogue is still doing, you know, these Doug Ritter designs justice. It's one thing to have an amazing design, but when you get a company like Hogue that's really able to, you know, they've got great manufacturing quality. And people ask me all the time, they're like, are Hogue knives good to go? Like, are they, you know, because I'm really tempted and that they're US made. Are they good? Yeah. I think Hogue is ridiculously underrated. I need to do a most underrated knife manufacturers video. But spoiler alert, Hogue would be number one. If we're going to reduce it to how underrated the entire company is, yeah, all the way around, Hogue has some cool models, right? But they are super underrated as far as a company. Yes, you should absolutely do business with Hogue. They're great. This is a great example, right? Fantastic example of what they're capable of, their manufacturing quality, right? It's just really great. But the design credit goes to, of course, Mr. Doug Ritter. We have, in my opinion, perfect ergonomics. Perfect. And I mean that. There is nothing that I would change about these scales. I love the texturing. I love the multi-directional texturing. You can see how it's kind of sort of starbursts out from this point right here and comes down, and we have a little bit of frag going on right there, lines going in different directions. And this is great because when you're working with a fixed blade, sometimes you're twisting, sometimes you're pulling, sometimes you're, you know, you're locked in. These are contoured and absolutely made to just, your hands will melt around these scales. It's got plenty of real estate. It's this area right here. When I first looked at this knife, I thought, why is that guard so prominent? Why does it have to be so prominent? I don't understand. I get it in hand and I realize it's right there where it's as high as it needs to be, where I'm completely and totally locked in and not feeling like I might accidentally slip over onto the blade. And that's taking into consideration the entire profile of the blade and the knife. So now that I've handled it, which is often the case, I always, you know, it's like you can judge a picture of something easily. Anybody can do that, right? No matter how much experience you have with said object. Until you get it in hand, it might not make sense. And this is a perfect example of that. The guard makes perfect sense. I'm extremely comfortable. I feel totally safe because believe me, I don't want to run my hand up on that blade. That is a very sharp edge. We'll talk about that here in a sec. Very, very comfortable. This is the type of fixed blade where I'd be like, I don't even need to think of it. I don't need to wear gloves because I'm comfortable. Now, obviously, if you're going to work with an hour or with a fixed blade for an hour, you're probably going to get blisters, right? But if I needed to go out and cut for, you know, an extended period of time with this, a reasonable extended period of time, this is insanely comfortable. I'm so happy with this. And it's just enough. It's not like my hands, I wear an XL glove, right? So I think a lot of people watching, a lot of guys who are watching will probably have hands that are similar to mine, maybe a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller right now. If you have truly XL sized hands, like, and I mean like monster sized hands, it might not work as well for you. But, you know, there aren't many people out there who have hands that are that big. My dad has gigantic hands. He's got hands that are longer than mine, thicker than mine, from working construction his whole life. And I handed this to him and he said, yeah, no problem. I mean, he's kind of like back here, but he's got no problem gripping this thing. Super, super comfortable. The corners of this area right here in the guard have been knocked down, so you're not like running up against some nasty areas right here. These edges on the side of the G10 also knocked down. No awkward lips or anything like that. The steel, I mean, everywhere that could potentially be a problem spot was knocked down and thought of. The only texturing is where it should be, and the texturing is not massively aggressive. It's enough to, you know, allow your hands to gain traction, but it's not so aggressive that after you use it for 5 minutes, you're like, all the skin is coming off of my hands, right? It's not, I don't want to be holding a cheese grater while I'm potentially cutting cheese. Things that I would do with my knife, right? But yeah, if I was going to go out and work with something like a tool for that long, this is exactly what I'd want. It's perfect. There's no change needed whatsoever. Talk about things that don't need to be changed. The blade. Now listen, some people are going to require a more robust blade, but let me tell you, this kind of does. It's a really good balance. 135 to 145 thousandths always found, you know, at a certain blade length, like anywhere from like 3.5 inch to a 4.5 inch blade. That's just like right there in the sweet spot as far as it depends on the geometry, but cutting performance and durability, right? The ratio seems to be pretty good based on my limited experience. This is, again, a 4.5 inch blade with an enormous amount of cutting edge. Not a super deep sharpening choil, but it's there. So you're going to be able to easily sharpen this thing up and make it look good. Without, you know, really have a lot of times the issue with the sharpening choil is that you're trying to power cut into something thick and it gets hung up right there. Probably not going to be dealing with that too much. It's really not that aggressive, and you'll probably be able to just tilt and push. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Tilt and push it through. S45VN. Composition of S45VN versus S35VN, since people always ask. It's I mean, the composition's got, you know, different things in it, obviously, but in terms of performance, you're looking at similar edge retention, similar toughness. It should be about the same, maybe a little bit easier to sharpen than like S30V, which is also in the same family. Maybe somewhere. The biggest difference here is the ability for the composition to resist corrosion, which is much better than S35VN and S30V. It's actually approaching M390/20 CB/204P, right? I always forget it could be that this is a little bit easier to sharpen than S35VN as well. In any case, the point that I'm making is this is an incredibly well-rounded composition. Yeah, even though it is incrementally better than your other steels in the same family, I think it's got the best rounding of attributes. And I absolutely, especially on a fixed blade, I absolutely prefer it over M390. People always say, why didn't they do M390? Isn't that the best blade steel? M390 is not the best blade steel. It's just a blade steel that's got good attributes for a folding knife, but the attributes are not always preferable, right? Depending on I'd much rather have S45VN on a fixed blade, right? And there's obviously other blade materials. Some people don't need the extra corrosion resistance. They would have preferred 3V or Crewwear or something else, right? But S45VN has a good enough balance that it's going to be anywhere from extremely preferable to, all right, that's okay for a lot of people, right? The goal here wasn't to choose one blade steel to, appease everybody. It was a very balanced composition that's going to work well for a lot of people. I think S45VN was a perfect choice for this. I really like that. Doug Ritter logo up here looks fine. On the other side, it says Hogue USA, and that's it. We've got a nice tumbled finish on this. It's not like flat, but it's less reflective than the folding knife, which I really don't have a problem with because where you're going to be using this, right? I mean, does it really need to be? It's still a tumbled finish, and it's nice and smooth. It's just a little bit more matte, a little bit less reflective than the folding knife, right? But it's fine. I like it a lot. The tumbling is great. The edge is very thin. This is going to be a performance slicer. Absolutely. It's nice and thin, but it's also, got enough robustness, right? It's like, I need the edge to be able to withstand chopping concrete blocks in half. Well, why? Don't do that with your knife. That's stupid, right? For what this was designed to be used for, I think the edge is perfect. The blade itself is also perfect. I don't have an issue. I kind of wish that the jimping extended just a little bit further. Just a little bit. But it's okay in the spot that it is. And you can see the spine, it's sort of rounded. Kind of like what they do, kind of like on the Rat. So it's easy to get traction right here, but it's not so much traction that it's like eating up my hands or anything like that. This is great. The way, and by the way, the edges on the spine, this is all nicely knocked down. I feel like I say that all the time, but yeah, it is. I should point this out. There's also a flat that carries out about 80% the length of the blade. So yeah, I mean, but it's a high, you can see how high up the blade starts. So the flat carries out right here, but it doesn't take up a massive portion of the blade, and it tapers down to a nice thin edge. I just wouldn't change anything about the blade. In fact, all the way around, there's a lanyard hole, and then this area back here, which I don't know. Is this a glass break? Is this meant for like hammering something in, or I don't know. But that's fine. There's nothing here that doesn't need to be here, and everything that's here is so beautifully thought out. I've been saying this for a long time, that I've been trying to find a fixed blade that just kind of sticks and translates perfectly. I always assumed that it would be a smaller one, but this is one of the most perfect fixed blades I've ever handled. Now, keep in mind, guys, I don't have nearly as much experience with fixed blades as I do folding knives. So when I say something like that about a folding knife, it might carry a little bit more weight. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I really like this, but a lot of my judgment comes from my experience with the folding knife, right? And I'm also, like I said, I'm only able to make limited judgments, based on the very small number of fixed blades that I have handled. And again, I don't go out and use fixed blades all the time, but I have used a lot of folding knives, and I've used a few fixed blades going out and doing simple things, right? So I have a basic understanding of what I look for when it comes to ergonomics and materials and things like that, right? Your opinion might vary on the blade steel, and that's fine. But for a wide variety of different people, S45VN, yes, it's premium, powder formed, and it's definitely going to work. I think this is one of the most perfect translations into a fix. Now, some people might look at this and think, well, that's great. It just looks kind of odd. I don't mind how it looks at all. I think it looks fine. And truthfully, when to a fixed blade, it's even more important to me that functionally it's going to work versus how pretty is it. I'm a little bit more with a folding knife. I'm a little bit more like, I kind of really need it to look at it. Now, with something like this that I'm going to go out and use, I do like how this looks. It's fine. But it's really functionally, that's going to be the thing that matters to me the most, and this is going to be functional. I love this. I love the design. I love the material choices, and I think that this, for a lot of people, this could be like the last, tool that they could have. Like if they were like, I just need one knife and I'm going to use it as a tool periodically. I don't need to be carrying it on my person all the time. I just need to have it. One really good knife. This could be that one really good knife for a lot of people, and you wouldn't really need anything else. I mean, obviously there are situations where you might want a little pocket knife, right? But yeah, this is going to do a lot of that stuff. Is it going to be capable of everything? No. In some situations, you might need a longer blade. Some people might need a longer blade. For some people, they may not want to work with a blade that's this long. But this is the size, the weight, the materials. It's going to speak to a lot of people. This was very, very well thought out. It's simple, but I mean, you take a simple knife profile and then you refine it and you make these little adjustments and think out every last little tiny thing. And what you get is, something that really is a better design than other fixed blades out there that might look very similar to this. What's the price on it? Price on this guy is $192. So it is higher than the folding knife. And I'm not 100% sure on that. I mean, a lot of what you're paying for, obviously you're paying for the S45VN. You're also paying for the fact that it's made in the United States, has excellent fit and finish, right? But then again, the folding knife is also that, and it's more complicated. I would assume more work went into the folding knife, so I'm not really sure why it's $192, right? I kind of wish that it was at least the same price, or truthfully a little bit less than the folding knife. But if we're talking about honesty here, truthfully, the price on the Ritter Hogue blows me away. I mean, remember, this one knife, this folding knife, has been for the last 2.5 years, in my opinion, the point of diminishing returns when it comes to a knife. Like, the price on that thing is so incredible. So can I really complain that much about the 192 here? Only when I'm relating it to when the same guy and the same company release one of the best priced knives in the world, right? I kind of wish this was at least the same price as the folding knife, but I'm not really all that bent out of shape, because it's really nice. The fixed blade is really, really nice. Yeah, so despite me being a little bit confused about the price tag, I think it's maybe $20 high, but I mean, gosh, how many reviews have ended with me going, oh, the price is maybe $20 too high. Oh, everything could be $20 less and I'd be happy, right? Yeah. Can I recommend this fixed blade? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is great. This is an excellent tool. And I would imagine the more people who get their hands on this thing, the more you're going to see on forums and other YouTube channels and Instagram and Facebook. You're going to see people going, with videos going, oh my gosh, this thing is incredible. It's wonderful, right? And that stuff is probably already out there. I don't do that type of stuff on this channel. But yeah, I'm sure that you can, eventually you'll be able to throw a stone in any direction and find evidence of the Ritter fixed blade here, just being amazing. And this isn't the first time he's done this, by the way. This is there was a first generation version of this, so I'm sure you can find evidence of that. That was probably in a different blade steel. I wish I actually had handled that one. But anyways, yeah, this is going to go in 3 playlists. I love this fixed blade. It is really, really amazing and well thought out. This is going to go in my favorite knives of all time playlist. It's going to go in my most recommended knives playlist. And it's also going to go in my fixed blade playlist. Like I said, price a bit high, but oh my gosh, it's really good. Really, really good. Highly recommendable. I think you guys should check this out. Like I said, KnifeWorks exclusive, and keep in mind, I don't get anything through them because I'm not affiliated with them at all. This is pure and honest. I think this is really great, and you guys should go check it out. Thanks again to the legendary Doug Ritter for reaching out to me and letting me take a look at this. I really appreciate that. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.